When we think about, the end of a relationship or the conclusion of a life, there's this one universal quiet plea that always seems to come up, remember me.
Hmm.
It sounds so simple, right? But our deep dive into the source material for today shows it's anything but simple. We're not just asking someone to keep our name in their phone.
Not at all. We're craving something much deeper. The wish to be remembered is fundamentally about making sure a living presence remains, a
Or
kind of vital spark of who we were that continues on.
a living presence. I like that. And this is a profound longing, and the research we've looked at really helps break down the psychological mechanics of memory.
It does, and more importantly, how we can actually fulfill that request in the most lasting way possible.
Right. And that research gives us a really fascinating roadmap. So our mission in this deep dive is to pull out the most powerful insights we found by, analyzing the huge difference between trying to preserve someone's things versus capturing their actual essence.
And the core truth that sources really land on is that our memory, human memory, it thrives on what they call vivid emotional anchors.
Okay, anchors.
Yes. So if your goal is to keep that unique spark alive, you need anchors that pull people right back to a specific face, a specific expression, to the emotion of a shared moment.
You need triggers that kind of bypass the general fuzzy memories.
Precisely.
Okay, so let's unpack this. The core thesis here seems crystal clear, and it's surprisingly targeted. When we want to be remembered, we are craving emotional anchors that instantly bring back the whole personality.
Right.
And the source material argues pretty definitively that those anchors are photographs, visual cues, not, physical possessions or heirlooms.
Photos just win the legacy game, so to speak.
And that win isn't just an emotional preference, is it? It's about cognitive efficiency.
Exactly. It's how our brains are wired.
So let's get into the anatomy of that memory anchor, starting with just the incredible power of the human face. Think about how a photograph literally freezes time in a way our own memory just can't.
Our internal memory can't maintain that level of detail over decades. No way.
We're talking about capturing the exact curve of a laugh line or the specific light in someone's eyes, or even just the characteristic way they'd tilt their head when they were really listening to you.
And this is so critical because those are the first details to go. They're the first to dissolve in our long-term memory. Our brains are designed to smooth things out over time, to turn sharp memories into generalized ideas.
A photo just brings all that specificity right back.
Instantly. It's like a dedicated external hard drive for all that visual data that our biological memory is always trying to compress.
So this gets us into the real psychological meat of the research. And this is where the sources get really compelling. Viewing pictures of loved ones doesn't just prompt a general thought, it triggers something researchers call continuing bonds.
Yes,
Can you explain what that concept means? Because I feel like it's often misunderstood.
I'd be happy to. Continuing bonds is a critical finding, especially in bereavement studies. It pushes back against the older idea that healthy grieving meant you had to sever all your emotional ties to the person you lost.
Right, the whole move on idea.
Exactly. Instead, this research shows that maintaining a connection, a bond, is actually profoundly healthy. It means you allow yourself to revisit the joy, the personality, the love. You integrate that person's influence into your ongoing life.
So it's not about being stuck in the past or clinging to sadness.
No, not at all. It's about incorporating their positive legacy into your present and your future. It's an active, healthy maintenance of the emotional relationship.
And photos are the key to that.
They're the most direct, potent catalyst for that process. They don't just remind you that the person existed. They remind you who they were in a specific moment, making them feel present again.
Okay, so let's contrast that visual power with, say, a physical possession. We all cherish heirlooms. They carry so much meaning. Maybe it's a grandfather's watch, right? The ticking reminds you of his discipline.
Or a grandmother's ring that just shines with her specific elegance.
Sure.
But those heirlooms are indirect memory triggers. Their power is limited to evoking habits or traits. When you hold the watch, you think, he always wore this.
You remember the act of her wearing the ring? The object is a proxy for the person.
A proxy, that's a perfect word for it.
But that watch doesn't show you the look on his face when he was frustrated, or the exact smile she had when she was teasing you.
Precisely. And that's the immense advantage of the photo. The image shows the person in action, surrounded by life, by context, a birthday party, a holiday, a shared joke.
It invites the whole story to come flooding back.
The whole story. The source material calls photos cognitive anchors. They sharpen the entire recollection, and they soften the pain of absence by making the personality feel tangible again. They actually reduce sorrow by inviting the story to be told.
That makes perfect sense. The object relies on your memory to fill in the blanks, but the photograph resupplies the blanks for you instantly. And so, beyond the emotional reasons, let's get practical. Why do visual legacies just say? Why do they last longer, logistically, than the keepsakes we put in boxes in the attic?
Well, the primary practical function is just preserving their appearance. I mean, time, illness, death, they all work against our memory of how someone looked. And that's often our deepest anxiety, isn't it? Forgetting their face.
Getting the curve of their nose or the way their hair fell.
Right. A photo holds that precise look we're so terrified of losing.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a child's gap-toothed grin or the knowing glance of a parent, the visual record stops that decay of memory.
And there's a social function, too, that objects just can't really match. The sources emphasize that for a memory to last generations, it has to be active, it has to be collaborative.
Absolutely. Think about an old piece of furniture. It might be beautiful, but it doesn't just spontaneously start a conversation about the person who owned it 20 years ago.
Right.
But the act of gathering the family to flip through an album, whether it's digital or physical, that instantly turns a private memory into a shared conversation. It forces a narrative exchange. Where were we here? Oh, I remember that day.
It strengthens the bonds across generations because they're all sharing that exact same visual trigger.
Exactly.
And one of the most practical reasons, which I think is often overlooked, that the sources highlighted was about future-proofing the legacy. We forget about the logistical burden of inheritance.
That's a huge point. Physical objects, furniture, clothes, collections, they create clutter. They impose a real burden on the next generation. People often pass things on out of obligation, not because they're the best memory trigger.
They might love their grandmother, but they don't necessarily want to store 1,000 pounds of her stuff.
Who does? But photos, they travel lightly into the future, as one source put it. Whether they're digital files or a printed album, they pass on easily, without hardship.
So it's a gift of memory without the weight of physical clutter.
That's it. It ensures the legacy continues without burdening the people who inherit it.
So if we pull all these takeaways together, this comparison, a clear hierarchy starts to emerge.
Yes. And what's so fascinating is how all these reasons, the practical and the psychological, they all connect back to that core desire of remember me.
Okay.
The findings confirm three essential truths. First, faces just endure longer than objects. A photo returns the person, not just a trait like their discipline or elegance. Second, stories need image triggers. Images invite tales that objects can only hint at.
And the third one, which I think loops back to the idea of continuing bonds,
Is that memory is active. Revisiting photos keeps love dynamic. It's alive. It ensures that relationship continues to contribute positively to a person's life rather than becoming this frozen relic that's just trapped in sadness.
So the conclusion is pretty inescapable. For a legacy to have maximum endurance and emotional impact, it really has to be primarily visual. And it's wonderful to see how that ancient fundamental wish has evolved so beautifully in the modern era. We have entirely new tools now to amplify that plea.
We're moving way beyond just the dusty photo album or a portrait on the wall.
So true. The modern evolution is so important because it addresses the challenges of families being spread out geographically and just managing all this information.
The tools available today really increase both the reach and the interactive depth of remembrance. It's not just about static storage anymore. It's about creating intentional, dynamic tributes.
Yeah, the source material had some really powerful examples of this, especially with online memorials. The whole idea of a central digital hub for memory is, well, it's revolutionary.
It is. Sites like the one mentioned, a life portrait, they completely transform how we curate a lifetime. It's not just text. Families can centralize photos, videos, stories, even voice recordings.
You're creating a digital time capsule.
An interactive one.
Yep.
And it's accessible anywhere in the world, and it will last as long as the internet itself.
And we're even seeing new formats, ones that kind of blur the line between just viewing something and actively experiencing it. Tell us more about these living portraits.
Living portraits are designed to capture the dynamic personality of people and even pets while they're still alive. It's not just a recording. It's often a curated collection of their mannerisms, their favorite stories in their own voice.
Wow.
Yeah, it's about cataloging their unique traits for future generations in an interactive way. It's intentional memory creation, not just accidental documentation.
It makes the memory future-proof. You ensure the sound of a loved one's voice isn't lost. And maybe the most impactful development the research highlighted was the potential for virtual reality, VR.
Oh, VR is a game changer. It leverages spatial memory, which is one of the strongest forms of memory we have. The source talked about how VR could let scattered loved ones visit shared memories together.
What would that even look like?
Imagine standing in a digitally reconstructed version of your family kitchen or a favorite park and being anchored by the visual presence of the person you're remembering.
That really honors the wish to keep the person close and real, doesn't it? It moves from recollection to almost re-experience.
Exactly. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, all these modern tools, the online memorials, the living portraits, VR, they all just reinforce that foundational conclusion that legacy is visual, interactive, and spatial.
They're building the strongest bridge to tomorrow.
They are. In our fast-paced world, they ensure that the complete, unique person, not just a faint memory of them, is what gets passed on.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Whether you're, preparing a tribute for someone you love or just thinking about your own legacy, this deep dive really confirms a critical distinction.
It does.
If you're grappling with that quiet plea of remember me, the source material gives very clear direction. Start with the photos. Start with the visual essence.
They really are the most profound and lasting gift we can leave behind. They're the one thing that transforms that simple, quiet plea into tangible proof that love, when you capture it well, it never truly fades.
This brings up a really important question for all of us today, given these technologies we've just been talking about. We know the power of faces and images to create these continuing bonds, but we live in an age where digital storage is, for all intents and purposes, infinite.
We are creating mountains of photos and videos. Data is just pouring in every second.
So we have to ask ourselves, does the sheer overwhelming volume of all this data threaten the crucial act of intentionally revisiting it, of curating and sharing it?
Are we risking drowning the important memories in an ocean of digital noise?
Exactly. What is the true cost of endless storage on the quality of remembrance?
And that's the question for you, the listener, to consider. What methods are you using right now, or what do you need to start using to make sure your favorite, most poignant images don't just become buried, forgotten data points,
But instead remain accessible and actively shared?
so they can continue their essential work as dynamic cognitive anchors for the people you love? That, I think, is the new challenge of modern legacy.